can I just take this moment to thank each and every one of you amazing supporters. This channel has grown into an amazing community of story lovers. I could not have done it without you guys. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please be part of this journey and help us reach new heights. Thank you. Bills piling way past due, I was mega stressed job searching after getting laid off. But flipping through Craigslist gigs almost made me choke seeing a listing promising $2,000 a week to process medical claims from home. That had to be some scam bait, I thought, though it looked legit enough listing an official company with a corporate HR email to contact. Figuring it couldn't hurt to try, I shot over my resume to apply, crossing my fingers this wild payout wasn't a fake teaser. Well, hot damn, they emailed back confirming I was the ideal candidate for the position. I almost fell off my busted couch reading their offer letter, touting excellent pay plus benefits for full-time remote work. Some weird confidentiality clauses had my spidey senses tingling slightly. But the hiring manager, Kevin Russell, smoothed it over quick, just company policy to protect patient privacy. Made enough sense, so I jumped on setting up direct deposit info and tax docs to fill ASAP. Still floored my unemployment dry spell was ending with such a sweet gig. Those first couple work weeks processing mysterious medical claims for mega shady Kevin and his sketchy Craigslist gig went surprisingly smooth. Dude sent huge batch CSV files daily packed with policy numbers, patient ID codes, and bill treatment amounts that I imported easily onto a secure company database. Hitting approve claim, automated letters instantly generated with payout info on the fake letterhead Kevin provided. Easy peasy data entry stuff, if a bit repetitive. But hey, money rolled in promptly twice a week like clockwork with zero supervisor babysitting required, so I wasn't about to complain. I set up a little home office in my studio apartment, printing checks and deposit confirmations while crunching claims for hours in my pajamas and fuzzy slippers. Almost too good to be real, not having some micromanaging boss breathing down my neck in an office. I started fantasizing about all the overdue bills and weekend trips I'd finally knock out once my savings balance fattened up. This work from home thing was definitely legit. Until I swung through Walmart one morning to grab milk and cereal, and my debit card got declined when I swiped to pay. What the hell? This was the same card my payroll funds hit like usual yesterday. I frantically logged into my bank app, blasting the air conditioning to stave off panicked sweats as I watched the progress bar slow crawl. Please don't let those deposit reversals have started. But no, available balance read a shocking $4.50. Daily transaction reports showed a barrage of charges from restaurants, clubs, hotels, and boutiques draining nearly $800 over the past 3 days. Aspen ski gear rentals for $300. A $500 bar tab at some Miami lounge. No way in hell I authorized this wild spending spree all over the damn map. Fingers shaking, I scrolled further and saw online accounts that had opened at high-end retailers to ship gift boxes and shopping sprees across multiple states. Someone seriously went to town burning up cash and racking debt through my identity. As the Walmart clerk awkwardly prompted if I had another payment method, all I could do was mumble apologies and bail out, nearly hyperventilating. I blew up my bankers pleading to stop pending vacation packages and credit accounts being opened fraudulently, which they could only somewhat block after also freezing my assets temporarily. But then I noticed a chilling thread. Every single racketeering confirmation email was addressed to me, but routed through unfamiliar contacts. Puppet email accounts maybe, meaning whoever hijacked my card and personal info didn't just copy a number. They duplicated all my identification data needed to freely spend and open credit in anyone's name. And I instantly knew from where. That shady Craigslist gig. Furious, panicked, and violated beyond belief, I tried desperately calling Kevin and the fake company phone numbers I had, but just endless disconnected messages. I'd clearly been coasted by scammers who succeeded sinking their claws fully into my civilian existence. As fraud disputes piled up alongside creditor calls threatening me over 5-figure debts illegally taken out in my name overnight, I nearly crumbled into dust weighing the nightmare battles ahead to even start clearing my name. All because of one sketchy job ad preying on underemployed suckers like me, hungry, and negligent enough to hand over the keys to our entire lives. This lesson cost me dearly. Trust no opportunities promising big bucks for little effort tossed out on the lawless badlands of the internet. And now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go burrow moth-like into some dark curtain cocoon until apocalyptic debt volcanoes and legal threats stop erupting, if my shell shock ever fully fades. Pulse hammering with rage and violation, I knew exactly who set me up by stealing my info under guise of that bogus medical processor gig. When I tried calling Kevin the HR scammer, though, number went straight to disconnected message, and the company domain bounced back error notices too. Red hot fury surged picturing that con artist counting all the cash he siphoned out from me, and who knows how many other suckers lured by false job offers. The creditor robocalls kept demanding payments, so I nearly had a meltdown when officers basically laughed off my identity theft report since technically I wasn't threatened with physical harm. Oh yeah, only my whole damned financial future. After endless fruitless security protocol steps with the credit bureaus, I still spent months with my accounts on lockdown trying in vain to clear the false delinquencies and charges haunting me. Jokes about dropping off the grid to live as a woods hermit weren't even kinda exaggerated after getting my entire civilian existence hijacked from some faceless Kevin the con man exploiting desperation. The pending legal battles over bogus loans and asset seizures threatened daily still keep me nauseous. But lesson beyond learned, if a job deal seems too good to be legit, just walk the hell away. At least my ass got educated real fast that digital devils do lurk behind even slightly shady opportunities that aren't worth surrendering your life and identity for. And now kicking myself over having to eat nothing but ramen pride sandwiches until this nightmare gets resolved. If it ever does before I get eaten alive by interest and lawsuits. Damn you Craigslist and your wolves prowling amongst legit side gigs. May wrath rain down on Kevin the scammer Grinch laughing his sick ass off at my expense somewhere, you thieving trash demon. Elated at the prospect of my first solo apartment, I dove headfirst into the chaotic world of Craigslist, determined to stretch my recent grad budget to the max. A stroke of luck appeared in the form of an elderly lady looking to clear out antique treasures from her son's estate. The ornate Victorian sofa set she offered exuded that perfect blend of old-world charm and vintage chic that I envisioned for my new place. My overzealous excitement took the wheel, and without a second thought, I claimed my newfound treasures, envisioning Pinterest-worthy shabby chic decor adorning my humble abode. That's where the trouble began. Mistake numero uno. Failing to scrutinize the fine print or ask more questions when the price seemed too good to be true. Loaded up with Grandma's heirlooms in a rented truck, I had no inkling that I was unwittingly importing a whole biome of hellspawn. The first week saw my new antique beauties adding a touch of class to my living room. Little did I know that beneath the veneer of sophistication lay a hidden nightmare waiting to unfurl. One fateful night, I woke up scratching at weird, swollen red lumps, initially attributing them to seasonal allergies. It wasn't until the following morning, with more angry welts emerging around the antique couch, that I began to suspect something far more sinister. A hasty dose of Benadryl became my initial response, rushing off the situation as a fleeting allergic reaction. However, reality slapped me in the face when I returned home to find dozens of nauseating black pinpricks crawling over my once pristine white walls. A guttural scream escaped me as I witnessed armies of these nightmarish creatures overtaking every inch of Grandma's antique inheritance. So there I was in full-on panic mode, hitting up Google like it was my last hope. The mission: find an exterminator who could save me from this roach apocalypse. But here's the kicker: the minimum service charges were straight-up highway robbery, like 2 months' rent worth. Determined not to be fleeced, I decided to go full Rambo on these roaches armed with hardware store spray bombs and bleach wipes. Spoiler alert, it didn't go as planned. I went on a cleaning spree that would make Marie Kondo proud, soaking and scrubbing every nook and cranny. But these roaches were like party crashers who just wouldn't leave. Every time I thought I had them beat, more would pop up, mocking my DIY efforts. It was like a never-ending battle where I was losing miserably. Picture this: me, in the dead of night, eyes wide open, ready for war. Every creak and rustle sent a cold chill down my spine as I awaited the next wave of these creepy crawlers. Weeks turned into a blur of sleepless nights, and my once cozy apartment had transformed into a battleground. I was basically a sleep-deprived, bug-fighting zombie at this point. After weeks of this nightmare, I hit rock bottom and decided to beg the apartment manager to let me off the lease. The response? A big fat no. I was stuck, both broke and broken. Enter my guardian angel, act the kind neighbor who saw my struggle and graciously forked out the cash for some hardcore heat blasts. We're talking scorched earth policy here. As the heat wave hit, I went full Dinmo mode, tearing my place down to the studs. But guess what? Those resilient roaches were like, what heat wave? Some of those little buggers survived and continued their guerrilla warfare. It was like a horror movie, but the villain wouldn't die, no matter what. What was once my dream pad turned into a post-apocalyptic wasteland. My stuff was scattered everywhere, casualties of a war I never signed up for. And get this, those sweet antique pieces I got off Craigslist. Turns out they were like Trojan horses bringing in a whole army of invaders. Grandma's vintage charm was the real MVP in this horror show. As I trudged through the wreckage, I couldn't help but laugh at the irony. That budget-friendly vintage fantasy of mine cost me more than just a couple of bucks. It robbed me of my sanity and peace of mind, leaving me with regrets as haunting as the battle cries of those relentless roaches. Lesson learned, not every bargain is a good deal, especially when it comes with an army of unwanted roommates. Endless purging attempts failed, leaving me with no choice but to cut my losses, abandoning everything except the bare necessities that I could salvage devoid of vermin. The walls seemed to mock me as I surrendered my once cozy haven to the burgeoning colonies, relinquishing it to their relentless march. It was a cautionary tale, a nightmare that I now share with other idealistic, budget-restricted nesters desperate to avoid settling for milk crates and futons alone. Blessedly, I found emergency housing 4 floors up, exploiting the roach's aversion to heights as reassured by late-night Google searches conducted in the midst of my panicked state. Yet beneath the surface, steaming resentment brewed, fueled by the memory of carefree decor goals crumbling under the calculated siege from Grandma's insidious purchase. The traumatic echoes of underestimating these strategic guerrilla beasts lingered, each haunting my nightmares with a chilling battle cry. Renters never win. Alright, get ready for a story that'll make your skin crawl. This isn't your usual Craigslist nightmare about a scam or a broken couch. This is about the time I thought I scored the perfect apartment, only to find out I had walked into a real-life horror movie. So there I was a few weeks into living in this seemingly perfect apartment. I was still patting myself on the back for finding such a gem. The place had this cozy vibe that made me feel like I was in one of those trendy home magazines. But you know what they say about things that seem too good to be true. The first sign that something was off was so subtle, I almost missed it. I'm talking about the picture frame on my bedside table. It's this old, ornate thing I picked up at a flea market. Holds a photo of me and my best friend making goofy faces. I'd noticed it was slightly askew every morning. At first, I figured I must have knocked it while stumbling to bed. I'm not exactly graceful, but then it kept happening. Every single day, that frame was tilted just a bit to the left. It was like a tiny, annoying mystery. Then there was the lampshade in the living room. This wasn't just any lampshade. It was a funky vintage style one that I absolutely adored. One evening, I'm lounging on the couch, binging some show, and I noticed the lampshade looks different. It's rotated almost imperceptibly, but enough for me to know it wasn't how I left it. This happened a couple of times, and each time I fix it, feeling a bit unnerved. But the real kicker, the moment my something's not right feeling turned into, okay, this is seriously creepy, was with the smoke detector. This happened on a lazy Sunday. I'm sprawled on the couch, probably recovering from my Saturday night adventures, when I hear this faint beeping sound. It takes me a while to figure out it's the smoke detector complaining about a low battery. I grab a chair, climb up, and that's when I see it. I'm face to face with this little black lens, so small and unassuming. It sends this jolt of fear through me. It was a camera, hidden right there in the smoke detector, looking down at me like some all-seeing eye. My mind raced with questions. How long had it been there? Who put it there? What had it seen? The realization that my privacy might have been violated in the one place I considered my sanctuary sent chills down my spine. I felt exposed, vulnerable. It was like someone had pulled the rug out from under me. The idea that someone could have been watching me, recording my every move, was terrifying. I remember just standing there, frozen, staring at that tiny camera. The sense of betrayal was overwhelming. This wasn't just a breach of privacy. It felt personal, like an invasion into my very sense of safety. It was one of those moments that makes you question everything. Who could I trust? How safe was I really? From that point on, the apartment never felt the same. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow cast by the setting sun, had me on edge. I was no longer living the dream, I was trapped in a nightmare. And the worst part, this was just the beginning of a long, disturbing journey to uncover the truth behind those hidden cameras. My heart dropped to my stomach. I started searching the apartment and found more, in the living room, the bedroom, even the bathroom. The realization hit me like a freight train. My landlord had been spying on me. Every moment, every private conversation, every time I danced in my underwear to bad 90s music, he had seen it all. Panic isn't even the word. I felt violated, furious, and freaked out all at once. I didn't know what to do, call the cops, confront the landlord, run away, and join a circus. My mind was racing faster than Usain Bolt on steroids. I decided to go to the police. Turns out, I wasn't the first tenant to report this. My creepy landlord was known to the authorities for his little hobby of spying on his tenants. The cops had been trying to nail him for months, and my testimony was a final nail in the coffin. What followed was a whirlwind of police statements, court dates, and media attention that I never wanted. I was thrust into the spotlight as the victim in a privacy invasion case that made local headlines. Lawyers, reporters, and other victims of the landlord reached out to me. My life turned into a circus, and not the kind I had considered joining. The court case dragged on for what felt like ages. Every detail of my private life was dissected and discussed by strangers. I couldn't go back to the apartment, so I crashed on friends' couches, living out of a suitcase and trying to keep my sanity intact. Eventually, the landlord was found guilty. Justice was served, but the whole ordeal left me with scars that weren't visible. I struggled with trust issues, paranoia, and the constant feeling of being watched. Finding a new apartment was a nightmare. I checked every nook and cranny for cameras, much to the confusion of several landlords. The experience changed me. I became more private, more cautious. I learned the hard way that sometimes what seems like a golden opportunity can turn into your worst nightmare. So, here's my advice to you. Always check your apartment for cameras. And maybe, just maybe, steer clear of those too good to be true Craigslist ads. They might just lead you to a story like mine, and trust me, you don't want that. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.